Hello guys, and welcome back again.
So
finally, I don't, how long was this thing in the machine shop for?
over 3 weeks.
Yeah, well they said it was going to be like 4 days.
Well, 10 days.
So finally got the old motorsports block back from the machine shop after a lot of drama and fanfare. Like every single spec had to be double, triple confirmed because they like don't. It's not like in America where you give them a block, they know what to do with it.
Yeah.
In England, they're like, what is the deck height? What is this measurement? What is that measurement? What do you want? What do you want? And it's just like, every time they go to another machining step, they had to call Pete back, and it's delays. And they buggered one thing up. I don't know, let's flip it over and we'll show you that real quick.
I don't like buggered, all right? A machining mishap.
So this block being completely unmachined and still new old stock, you know, Ford Racing, you know, the old R block there.
Oh,
the lifter bores were not finished yet. So they went in to try to machine the lifter bores to spec. They have specific reamers that they use. Well, two of them got a bit wallowed out is what they said.
yeah.
So they had to install two bushings in just to make sure that the lifter bore tolerances were good. So it's not detrimental, it's just annoying because that in itself took an extra, week?
Yeah.
So, but they skimmed the decks to 950.
950, not 900.5.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we were sitting there and Pete would talk to them and say 9.50 inches from center of the crank journal to the top of the deck. You'll make sure they're square, nice and machined for MLS Cometic head gaskets. And then they came back and I was like, like something kept getting lost in translation where they're like 950. It's like, so there's a lot of confusion back and forth.
Old school, you see.
Yeah, what had to get done. So we just cleaned it, brushed everything out, primed it, or then didn't prime it, just cleaned up the block because all this, I thought it might have been that Gliptol coating for the oil to run back into the pan really easy, but it's just somebody red oxide primered the whole block. I mean, it did protect it, but it took a lot to get it off. I mean, this isn't going to come off easy. We wire wheeled everything. You saw it in the time lapse. And VHT engine paint doesn't coat very well.
No, it's supposed to be grey. It's looking more purple.
Yeah, but it just didn't cover very well. It kept wicking through. But hey,
that's not going to be seen. Those really expensive headers are going to cover all that.
Not a show car. It's a race car. It's protected. And
it's a street car, Mike. Street car.
It's gonna be a hell of a street car. Yeah. So we're gonna get to finishing the assembly of the block, cam bearings, core plugs, and then we can start laying some bearings in and start
crank.
See how the crank fits. So, all right, we're gonna button this up and we'll bring you back in just a sec. All right, here got the block. All ready to go with the cam bearings, all the core plugs. We even had so that one there, I don't know if you can barely see it, but we drilled a little tiny 1mm hole in it. So as the oil comes out, it's going to spray out and lubricate the distributor drive gear, which is what a lot of cam companies recommend. So we have a high-end box, a Calico coated Cleveland cam bearings for this thing. So they're interesting because the thrust bearing is like multi-piece. which I've never seen before. And these side ones just kind of float there a little bit. So we're gonna get some ultra slick on here. I already measured the journal diameters. We got about 3.5 thou of clearance. So it's a little on the tall side, but I guess this is, this is race spec stuff. That's what they want to run, so I'm sure it'll be just fine. These are the top end bearings in the business. So just washed and brushed off the crankshaft, and it is not light.
It's not.
Big forged, what is it, Molnar crank? So, and
LPC ZR351ci.
yeah, heavy metal, balanced up. So we'll get this juice in there, and you'll see us laying the crank in here in just one sec.
Still here.
That's the wheel.
Still doing it. Only on number 4. Seems like forever.
So guys, this is the long and dirty of engine building here. So gapping and filing and checking piston rings. That's why electric piston ring tools are several $100s.
Which, yeah, I don't want to spend.
So that's why all the shops will get them, because they're such a time saver, for if you're doing this on a regular basis. But for guys at home, files and even this little rudimentary ring filer, there's
25 turns ago.
and it's taking hours, but that's what you got to do. So we're gapping them at 21 thou.
21 thou for the top.
And 30 thou for the second ring.
Oh, just starting to go in. We're getting there.
Alrighty.
And the second ring, 30 thou.
Yeah. So it's interesting with these rings, the top ring seems like it's a harder metal.
Yeah, a lot harder.
Maybe like a stainless ring or something like that. You got the donuts.
Oh yeah, donuts. Oh, and a cup of tea.
Yeah.
The good traditional cup of tea.
Yeah. So we got Fowler fit piston rings. Doesn't really say what the compositions are. Pro Select rings. Have to AP steel. File fit. So well, this is what they ZSR Racing included with the stroker kit. So I assembled all the pistons to the rods, all those circlips. Yeah, I got a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
They're a pain to put in, but they're all standing by, waiting for the rings. But the big thing, we found out we're missing something.
Fox is abroad again. Unbelievable.
So when you have pistons that have the pin that goes through the oil ring, there is supposed to be a oil ring support rail is what they call it, and it is a heavier ring that goes across the bottom to support the thin, let me get one of these untwisted here, the thin oil rings from basically some blow-by compression forces physically bending the rings down.
Oh, dear.
So with even the spacer ring and the 2 oil control rings,
Scotty's
yeah, it's going to be hard to do without it being together. But if you stack these oil control rings correctly on there, there's space, because when ZSR had these pistons, he said in his quality control checks that Diamond didn't machine the pistons correctly with enough space for the oil rail support ring. So these pistons had to go back to Diamond to get this bottom rail, this bottom ring groove enlarged for that support rail. Well, evidently Diamond did the work, sent the pistons back, but still didn't include the support rails with the rings. So
nope.
here we are trying to get this thing going, and we don't have
running out of
the
time.
rings.
We got 18 days.
Well, it's the 20th, isn't it?
20th. Oh no, it's 20th.
Yeah, 20th of July.
So 22 days.
Is they were trying to get all this done and all it back in there.
And we need to take another 2 steps back.
So we have a plan. Don't know how it's going to work out.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
He's not here. He's over the pond.
We may be stealing some parts.
Missed.
Off
Being
John's
missed.
engine.
You're being missed, mate.
Since John's engine is a little bit longer in the build, I think we may steal the oil support rails out of John's pistons.
He'll only find this out when he watches
Yeah.
this video.
So
Thank you, John.
So we're gonna steal his. I'm gonna go back to my house.
Borrow.
Yeah.
Borrow. We don't use steel.
Yeah, true. We are literally borrowing it.
I'll carry on, look.
We're giving him brand new ones back. So once we get the new ones, we'll give them back to John. But it'll keep the build going. But piece of jamming on that. I am gonna stab the camshaft in. And
I am on the other bank now.
Oh yeah. And try to get the timing chain set up and start degreeing the cam. So
Camshaft. Big bump stick.
we're keeping going. Stick around.
Later.
Second ring on cylinder number 8. Last one. I've got a little bit more to take off this, and then we'll put it in the hole and have a check. There you go. That's 16 rings been filed. Second ring, number 8. Lovely. Time for some tea. Mike's gone home to get a few bits, including robbing some bits from borrowing bits from John. Catch you again later. So Mike came over yesterday. Basically we got the bottom end virtually done. We got some. This was a test fit, so we've got to put the gaskets under here. But cranks in, all the pistons are in. We've got a stud kit, courtesy of John, for the sump. So I'm going to get them in before Mike gets here again today. Bless him. Yeah, we just keep moving forwards. We had a bit of a problem with the cam, the bolt that goes in there. The original one, it's too small. These took home the M8 that we found. Just happened to have one in the corner over there. Been there probably 25 years. We're going to carry on today. Hopefully we're going to... I say hopefully we are. We're just going to carry on. We can get the timing chain on, get the cam degreed, then we can get the front cover on, the water pump heads. Blimey, by the end of today we'll... no, I better not say that. We'll be further forwards. But hopefully it'll give you an insight of what we've been doing. Hopefully Mike will be here shortly and we'll carry on.
We're in the last stages of buttoning up the bottom end here. We got all 7.5 rods torqued. We just wanted to show you how we're torquing these rod bolts using a rod bolt stretch gauge. So if you've never used this method before to torque your rod bolts, you can only really do it with ARP style bolts with little indents on the top and the bottom of the bolts, because these have little pins that fit into these registers. And what it's going to do is, as you torque this down, based on the specs for these rod bolts, you look at your instructions and it tells you how you have to torque it. Either these are 7/16 inch is the thread size or the head of the bolt, and these are 1.600 inches long, and these are ARP 2000 rod bolts. So you follow the chart down, and either we get 0.0060 to 0.0064 inches of stretch, or we do this crazy torque method where we torque it to 30 foot-pounds and then turn it under 60 degrees. So we don't have the dial thingy to do the torque and turn. So we're using the stretch gauge, and we'll show you how we set that up. So once you put it on the rod bolt, you zero out your gauge. Alright, so there we're sitting 0, and the bolt is loose, it's just kiss tight, and now we tighten it up until we see this gauge go up to 6 thou. And before we were just trying to put a wrench on it and turn it as we go. That method is really difficult because the wrenches you're jiggling and it's hard and they're bending because this is a lot of torque. There's probably over 65 foot-pounds of torque on a wrench that's only 6-7 inches long. Do yourself a favor, get yourself a big long breaker bar, and it may seem way overkill, but this method is way better because you can control much more precisely how much torque or how much more turn you're putting on these bolts between your measurements. So we've done this 15 times so far. So here we go. I'm just going to turn it 90 degrees pretty much. That should put us close to 5 thou. That's bang on 5 thou.
Bang on 5.
So I'll put a little bit more.
Five and 3/4.
And this is where the controllability of this big long arm comes in. Just a little bit.
Bang on 6.
All right. So happy with that.
And that's what we've done with all of them.
All our rod bolts are torqued, stretched.
They're stretched.
So, so we're gonna get back into it. Well, let me give you a little update. Hold on a second.
There we go. Look at those babies.
Go down pretty far in the hole. All right. So we had a problem. let me show you the front side of this here.
Do we want to show them?
So we have a custom camshaft from Flowtech Inductions, and they ordered the cam came from comp cams in a comp cam box. This is a very unique camshaft because it's going to a set of Twerk Flow TFS R heads. So it's got a lot of lift. It's going to have over almost 0.68 lift.
6.8, yeah.
It's going to really, I guess from the way this is designed, it takes a lot of effort to turn this cam compared to a regular small block Ford cam that only has the possibility of having one pin. So I don't know if it's just the core that this is the style. So I saw this. There's nothing in the instructions about which pin location to use. One of this lower pin has a dot, so we figured, oh, that's got to be it. So, but I went online to look and see which pinhole to use to set the timing gear up with, and the consensus was that it doesn't matter which location you use. And I was like, well, how can that be?
Yeah.
It's going to be 180 degrees out. But,
Well, that was my thought.
Yeah. But you think about it, the crank goes around 2 times for every 1 rotation of the camshaft. So it doesn't matter which pin you use. Everything on top is set to time by the camshaft, and whether this is going to be in the right
exhaust
position.
stroke or the intake stroke.
So it's going to, crankshaft doesn't matter. It's going to be where it needs to be, no matter which pin you use. And if you're confused, just think about it for a little while, and all of a sudden it'll snap, just like it did for me, just like it did for Pete. It's like, oh yeah, that's the way it's going to work. So we got it in. Wanted to try to put the timing gear on. We got the old camshaft bolt.
Yeah.
And we had to go put it in, and So a traditional small block Ford camshaft bolt does not work for this camshaft.
But I just happen to have.
Oh yeah. So go through the magic scrounge bucket of Pete has.
I mean, it must be over 25 years old. It's been. I don't use that toolbox.
This is a grade 8 bolt.
Yeah.
So this is the bolt, but the threads are very, very fine, and these are the threads for this camshaft core. So this camshaft core, I guess since the bolt is bigger, it requires more torque to hold that gear, the timing gear, onto the camshaft. So it's plenty long enough, plenty of thread engagement, even with the washer. So we're gonna use it, and it should fit just fine. I had to enlarge the washer hole, for the bigger bolt, because it's a hardened washer. I had to grind this because you're not just gonna drill it. But yeah, we're getting ready to degree the camshaft, so we'll see how this goes. So guys, this is the part where we get nerdy and we're just verifying just the camshaft timing, since everything is super custom on this job. Custom cam, aftermarket timing chain, aftermarket crank. We're just making sure 0 is going to be 0 according to the cam card you get. So this is we got this camshaft from Flowtech Induction. So if you've ever want to venture outside the realm of stock, what do they call it? Off-the-shelf camshafts is what they like to refer to them as, and step into the custom realm, I highly recommend these guys. I've probably got a dozen cams from them over the years, from myself and with friends, and I've never been dissatisfied. So what we're doing is just we're verifying the numbers based on what the cam card tells us, and right now we're within like 1 degree margin of error on plus or minus here, 1 degree, so we're not going to touch it. I love these Rollmaster timing chains. They're super precise. You get what you pay for in a lot of things in higher end world of engine building, and cheap Summit timing chains from China, do not even give them any shine. These Rollmaster timing chains are just awesome. I had one in my 85. I ran it for a season or two. I changed the camshaft to a different one, and when I went to pull it back out, it was still tight. I mean, it was amazing. So even after, you would thought big lift, big RPMs, and these timing chains just are the bee's knees. They just are precise and they last, and I highly recommend them. So we're going to pull all this back out. I got to torque this for the last time, and we're getting ready to put some stuff in. I think we're going to do the oil pan next.
Yep.
And
got to drill a hole in my brand new oil pan.
Yeah, for the
as a return.
The supercharger drain. And all right, we'll be back in just a second. Alright, so here it is, kind of finished up. Little hero shot for the moment. The heads are just on there with 1 bolt. Just set the intake manifold on for the moment. Waiting for the water pump gasket. I got some at the house. We just don't have any here, so I tightened all the bolts. So this the timing cover to block gasket would set. So once I get the water pump gasket, this will just pop right back off. Back on, tighten them up, and then we'll just get this area kind of tightened in and painted. But yeah, it's looking nice. Man, these are big ports. How many fingers these will take to shove in there. So yeah, next time we'll be checking push rod lengths, making sure, because we got the set of push rods that came with these heads and intake combo off another Windsor stroker. So we're going to see if those push rods work with this combo. If not, we'll be measuring and ordering for new ones. But, getting close. We'll get the bracketry sorted out. Make sure the headers kind of fit. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll fit up. Just I think maybe that's time for when they go in the car. But yeah, so sorry for the delay for putting out some content, but this is what we got going on. It's just engine builds don't happen quickly, so it's dragging on, but we're pushing through, and we'll hopefully catch you guys in another video. So take care, guys. See you soon.